Last week, we opened up weekend recap with Real Deal or Slow, bro, to discuss the then 7 undefeated teams in the NFL. This week, we have a little bit more information, and we want to follow up on that. For the 5 remaining Week 3 undefeated teams, we're going to call it They're It or Counterfeit. Up first, we have the Panthers sitting at 3-0. It was contentious last week. I promise you it's going to be contentious this week. I still say they're it, but after 2 pretty big injuries in week 3, I feel a little bit less confident. They have an injury to Christian McCaffrey, who's going to be out for a few weeks. He obviously is the best player on their team and one of the best players in the NFL. That is a massive, massive loss.
Big loss for them.
They also lost their rookie cornerback, who we'll also be discussing that a little bit later. However, I think that their like stock value, if you will, went up a little bit by the fact that the Saints handed the Patriots a pretty significant loss in week 3. So the Panthers, I was evaluating them based on the fact that they had one real win and a significant win. They beat 2 weak teams, but they've also beat a team that I think is kind of legit. I think that the Saints dominated week 1, dominated week 3. Only team that they lost to pretty badly was the Panthers. I'm saying they're it. What do you think, Zach?
I'm gonna go on a limb here again and say counterfeit, baby. The defense is legit. It's something else, man. It's really good. They might have a special defense. I mean, Derek Brown at defensive tackle, he's very young into his career and he's already lighting people up. So I really expect them to continue to thrive on defense. Watching some of that game though, didn't like what I saw out of Sam Darnold. And I get that everybody's like, oh, Sam Darnold's really turning his career around. He's leading the league in passing attempts. He's doing this. He's doing that. And I'm just kind of over here like, well, yeah, he's also making some of the bad decisions that he made before. He's just not being penalized for it because, his players are making active plays to prevent that from happening.
Recovering
He's
the fumbles.
Exactly. He's still throwing low. He's still kind of having some of these recurring accuracy issues. Still kind of looks like that young quarterback out of USC who needs a lot more development. I don't blame him. He didn't develop for 3 years in New York. So, he's pretty much a rookie again.
Yeah.
But I'm still a little worried about him. And I'm worried about that offense as a whole now that CMC is down as well.
Yes, and I do owe an apology to Panthers fans everywhere, as I did the thing that I do to every team that I start to gas up, and I cursed them. Last week, if you recall, I said as long as Christian McCaffrey doesn't go down, and, well,
there he goes.
I apologize. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's on me.
You got a lot of fantasy teams to apologize to, too.
I do. The Cardinals, you want to kick us off with that one?
Yeah, man, absolutely. They're it. So I get it. They beat the Jags. It's not like it was that big of a deal. It was just the Jags, and it was only a 12-point win, but it was still fairly dominating football for most of the game. Kyler looks like the guy through and through. I really fully expect them to continue to perform well, especially on offense. I mean, they have so many talents, and AJ Green, I was making jokes at the beginning of the season that he was not making jokes. I was certain that he was done. He was washed. I was like, no way. But he's starting to make plays again. It's kind of crazy to see him rejuvenating a little bit. And, I think the thing that scares me about Arizona is that they have a tendency to play to the level of competition that they're going against. So, with the Jags, they kind of played down a little bit. And, next week, and we'll talk about this later, when we do our predictions, but next week I'm expecting to see a whole different level of Cardinals play. So I'm fairly bullish on the Cardinals. I think they're it. I think they're number 2 team in the NFC West. What about you, Rob?
I am as well. And as far as AJ Green goes, you have to remember that he was wide receiver 1 at Bengals by a long shot. And maybe he is washed when going up against the cornerback 1. But when you have Hopkins drawing cornerback 1 without question, AJ Green is going to start making some plays. I don't think he's that washed.
For sure. Oh, for sure. I thought he was washed because of injuries. I know how dominating he was for so long. Him and Julio Jones drafted just a couple picks apart back then. I was convinced that AJ Green was going to be the GOAT between the two of them. Julio has had a better career, mostly because of, the ability to make plays downfield. But AJ Green is looking a little bit like himself, so I'm happy to see it.
And I'm not concerned about the Cardinals. I want to point out that game, there were several catastrophes that happened. There was I don't know if you saw this, absolutely insane. A referee's yellow flag hits a punt as it's coming down and forces a fumble. That was one of the weirdest things that I've
No,
ever
I've
seen.
never seen that. No, I
Yes,
didn't.
if you're at home listening to this podcast right now, look up basically the Arizona Cardinals. I don't even know how you would look it up, but referee flag fumble. The referee threw a flag and it
Flag.
literally hit the football as it was coming down into the guy's hands and redirected it and forced him to fumble it. I have never seen anything like that. They also decided to go for a field goal for 68 yards at the end of the first half, which ended up being returned for an 109-yard touchdown. That was a very poor coaching decision. Free 7 points for the Jaguars. That's not going to happen every single week. This was a lot of bad breaks for the Cardinals, and in the second half, they turned the gas on, and they still beat them by 2 scores. I'm bullish, too. I think Cardinals, they're it. Up next, we have the Denver Broncos. For them, I have Counterfeit. But I'm starting to get a little nervous. Their defense so far has faced 3 fairly weak teams, and their offense is averaging the same number of points that their defense has allowed in all 3 games combined. So right now they are outscoring their opponents, by quite a bit. I think that their next 4 games will define them and determine whether or not they're truly counterfeit. They have the Ravens, Steelers, Raiders, and Browns. And as you remember last week, we said the Broncos will be 3-0, and we won't know if they're good or not. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, I'm fairly bullish on the Counterfeit still. I'm not really wavering too much just because I was a huge Teddy B truther back when he came out in the draft, and I did like a whole scouting report on him and I put it on my old blog, and I was very correct on him in a lot of ways. Not a lot of arm strength. Everybody saw that coming. Biggest concern with him is going to be injuries. Everybody saw it coming. And unfortunately, the injury that he suffered was so major a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I'm just happy he's still in the league.
Yeah.
But with that said, he's not a game changer. He's not going to make any sort of significant difference for the team. And then, having Bradley Chubb go on IR yet again, first round outside linebacker 2 or 3 years ago at this point, him and Von Miller, they were supposed to be like this crazy good tandem where like they just destroyed every opposing offense. And it's just not happening. And I'm pretty sure Von's gone after this year anyways. So, at the end of the day, I'm fairly certain that this is going to get really bad for them really soon. I'm not sitting here saying that they're not going to win another game this season or anything, but I would not be surprised to see like a 7-10 season after starting 3-0.
I will say, though, a shutout in the NFL is always impressive no matter who your opponent is.
For sure. Next up, we got Bucs and Rams. I know you are quite a fan of the Rams. Let's hear what you got to say, man.
I am. They're it, and to me, it's not even a question. Last week, I had mentioned that they were my personal Super Bowl favorite. This week, I am doubling down on that. I had also said that I do not think the Buccaneers are the best team, like a lot of power rankings have said. I think that they're a top 5 team, but I think that they're pretty overrated. It's the recency bias. It's the Super Bowl. Everyone thinks the Buccaneers are the best team in the league. I truly do believe that it is the Rams. I believe that Matt Stafford was the final puzzle to close this out, and Belichick will not be in the Super Bowl this year to take another one away from the Rams.
Yeah, I agree with you on everything. I'm just not ready. I'm not ready to call them my Super Bowl favorites yet. I think they're a really, really good team. I think that the Sean McVay, Matt Stafford combination there, match made in heaven. It was worth all the first round picks that they gave up and everything else, especially if they can come out of it with a Super Bowl or at least, some high like level performance. I still kind of worry a little bit. Stafford, he's had injuries on and off throughout his career. Most of the time he's played through them other than his first 2 years. But, he's excelling, man. He's blossoming. He's getting better. And I think it's fantastic to see it. I still kind of wonder to this day, why did Washington not fire Jay Gruden and, elevate Sean McVay to head coach. But,
Yeah.
my opinion doesn't matter. I'm just a
Yeah.
little sad boy Washington fan over here.
There was a joke in there about the Lions' offensive line, but I am in no place to make any jokes at the Lions' expense right now. We'll get to that one later as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Up next,
Dolphins Raiders. Yeah, you go ahead, man. You go ahead. You get it started.
Oh boy, I still think they're it. Not as impressed this week, but I still think they're it. I noticed that a lot of sports announcers were saying, "Oh, the Raiders are fakes. They're frauds. They can't actually run the ball." That was the big thing I kept hearing over and over again. They can't run the ball. They can't run the ball. They can't run the ball. And then, wow, they against the Dolphins defense had their third string running back go for 111 yards, Peyton Barber,
Yeah,
and then another
carved him up.
31. Yeah, another 31 with their other runners. I don't think they're bad at running. I think that we have to remember that Josh Jacobs has been pretty much injured or sick or both injured and sick all year. I think give him time when Josh Jacobs is healthy, and apparently maybe Peyton Barber will also be getting some quality runs on his second reps. We'll see. I still think the Raiders are it. What about you?
I do not. I think they are counterfeit. And it's not any sort of strong feeling by me in regards to as to why. I actually kind of I liked what I saw from Vegas this week a little less. And I think that the Dolphins they're proving to be like a very mediocre team.
Yeah.
So to me, it's just kind of starting to feel like a team that's had one really good week in which we were all aware of, against Baltimore. And otherwise, I'm not so impressed. And after seeing what's been happening with Baltimore, I don't know if I should be impressed. No offense.
It's true. It's fair.
I think that they're playing way too tight in too many of these games. And, Derek Carr, I mean, he's awesome. He's playing the best football of his entire career. But I don't necessarily think that it means that they're a great team because of how things are going so far. I'm kind of expecting them to kind of have that crashing down moment like the Panthers. Like they're the Panthers of the AFC for me, where I expect things to kind of stop clicking and things to get a little worse, and just to kind of see where that leads to. Unfortunately, I don't know. I mean, I also am not the biggest John Gruden fan. I don't think he's been a good coach for a long time. So
I'm not either.
Yeah, I mean, he won a Super Bowl because of Tony Dungy. So.
The no longer undefeated two teams were knocked out of the undefeated perfect season contention. The Buccaneers, we talked a bit about them already. They lost to the best team in the NFL. Who cares? Who cares? They're still playoff bound, and you can never count Brady out in the playoffs. I'm still strong on them. You lost to the Rams. Oh no, so will probably 14 or 15 other teams this year. It's okay.
Yeah, I can't even add anything to that, man. I'm not. If I'm a Buccaneers fan, I'm not super disappointed. I mean, I don't like how bad the game looked in the end because Brady racked up some garbage time stuff there. Yeah. But for the most part, I'm not stressing too much. Then Packers, Niners. Niners no longer undefeated. I don't know how to feel. How do you feel?
That game in general was just a dumpster fire. And I'm not talking about the Packers or the 49ers. I'm talking about the officiating. I don't know what was going on in that game, but about every 5 minutes was just like, wait, what? But that's not how that works. And apparently that is how that works. There was a phantom pass interference call. Devontae Adams had his soul forcibly removed from his body, and then there was no penalty thrown for that, despite the fact that I felt he was a defenseless receiver.
It's crazy.
Looked like it was leading with the helmet, although
it was. No, he was, dude. That was textbook. That should have been a penalty. The NFL is trying to eliminate hits like that. The fact that nothing was called on that, because I bet you fines will be issued out after that hit. And the officiating just got it wrong.
Yeah, not to mention that Devontae Adams actually was given the Guinness World Record for fastest concussion protocol. And was immediately back.
One play. He was out for one play. He was in the blue tent, and they were like, "You good, fam?" He was like, "I'm good, fam." And then they just let him go back out. Like he did nothing in there. I think that I'm scared for Devontae Adams, man, because
Mhm.
he has taken some punishing hits to the head. He has had some bad concussion issues in the past. I'm just really hoping that, today, tomorrow, Wednesday, all of a sudden he doesn't start having headaches or
Yeah.
migraines and stuff. Because if he does, he's going to be out for a while.
An NFL cameraman is going to get fired because he literally, like, you could see directly into his helmet and his eyes just look like they were glazed
Oh,
over.
man.
He
Yeah.
claims that it was not actually a concussion or a head hit and that the helmet hit him in the chest and that he was winded and couldn't breathe. I don't
It
know
was,
if
it
I
was
believe
pretty
that.
clear.
Yeah, I'll
He got
let
hit right under the
I'll
chin.
let doctors weigh in on that one. I'll stay away from that one, but it looked really sketchy from an audience member perspective. What did we learn? Never leave Aaron Rodgers' time on the clock. I don't care if it's 37 seconds. I don't care if it's 5 minutes. I don't care if it's 10 seconds. When you are playing against Aaron Rodgers, you score with the final play of the game. I
Yeah.
know that's difficult, easier said than done. We got to learn that lesson. How many times does Aaron Rodgers have to beat you with less than a minute and no timeouts before people just learn it's not enough to get the touchdown? You have to burn the clock too.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that adds to his legacy. I don't know how to feel about Aaron after everything this whole summer, but like good for him. Good for him
Mm-hmm.
for orchestrating that drive and giving them as much of an opportunity as physically and like humanly possible to win that game.
Yeah, I believe that was Devontae Adams that made that clutch catch, wasn't it?
It was, yes, sir.
Huh?
It was.